Hi, my name is Brendan Long, and this is my final presentation for Business 340, the summer internship course. And yeah, let's get this started. So I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about myself and my sponsor. So a little bit about myself. I just finished my junior year at Lords, so next year will be my senior year, and then I plan on getting my master's after that. I'm an athlete. I play soccer. I'm originally from Cave Creek, Arizona, and this is the first internship that I've ever had. And then a little bit about my sponsor. They're called the Cincinnati Dutch Lions. They're an amateur soccer team based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. This is their fourth year of existence, and this is the first year that they actually had interns working alongside them. A little bit more about the Dutch Lions. My supervisor was Brandon Ponchak. He's the general manager of the team, and he has been. This was his third year as their general manager. The purpose for them is to serve as a platform for these young guys to go pro. A lot of guys on the team are, they're college athletes or guys that have graduated college and want to continue to play and continue to get recognized by these high level teams, and the Dutch Lions, that's what they do. The future goals for the Dutch Lions are to become a bigger market team and eventually move to a professional status. The ultimate end goal is to become a professional team so that they can pay these players and these players can get contracts with them instead of having to find future teams for them. And then they're owned by a group of Dutch investors who have a ton of other companies. So this is kind of like a side job for them, but ultimately they want to turn it into something that can make them money, whereas right now it's more of having it for fun. So what did I do? On a day-to-day basis, the biggest two things I did. The first one was I assisted the general manager in daily duties. He was a very, very busy man. He had a ton of stuff going on, a ton of meetings, practice, all that stuff. And so I just took on whatever tasks he needed done, like doing game day itineraries or making sure the jerseys were prepared for the games or anything else that needed to be done to prepare for training or for games. And then the other big thing I did was I tried to help promote the club through several platforms, the biggest being social media. One of the big things we tried to key in on was increasing our Twitter and our YouTube channel. That way we could draw in not only interest from people in Cincinnati, but interest nationwide to say this is Cincinnati Dutch Lions. And so that was definitely one of the big projects I had throughout the summer, was to try and see how we could promote the club, what things we could do on YouTube and Twitter to try and gain recognition for the team. Another thing I did was I ran game day operations. So what that entailed was on the day of games, just going to the stadium, making sure the away team had all the drinks, the referees were set up in their locker room, and that our home team was like set up with jerseys. They had the drinks, they had the towels, everything they could need on the day of the game. That way, when fans got there and it was time to play, that it just ran smoothly for everyone, fans, referees, players, workers, everything just ran smoothly. The big overall summer project that I was handed was creating a platform for a rebrand. The general manager really wanted to rebrand the club. Like I mentioned earlier, they wanted to go professional, and to do that, they needed to branch off from the Dutch Lions and create their own image. And that was kind of the big thing, is how can we convince management that a rebrand is needed and that a rebrand will not only benefit us now, but it'll benefit us in the long term, and saying this is our platform to build on to become a semi-pro or a pro team in the future. And so that was anything from doing research on what other teams had done when they rebranded or the benefits of rebranding. And the biggest thing that he wanted to know, the general manager, was how we could make a rebrand more of a lifestyle rather than just a soccer team. And so I looked into teams. There are a few professional teams who did really well at it, and they just have jerseys and merchandise that's based around being a lifestyle brand, so you could wear it around like normal clothes, whereas it wouldn't just be like, oh, that's a soccer jersey. I also helped coaching a little bit. That didn't it was very few and far between, but anytime a coach couldn't make it, I would set up drills or just, fill up water bottles, like whatever they needed done on the day of training. And then I inventoried the merchandise. So if there was ever a need to figure out what we sold at games, that way we could keep track of what new merchandise do we need to buy, or what's popular, what's not selling, all that sort of stuff. What did I learn? I kind of separated this into three separate categories because I really felt like I learned a lot about these three separate things. The first off, I learned about myself. Was this is definitely a job field that I'm interested in. My whole life, I've loved sports, and I know I love sports, but this kind of just hammered home the point that doing something in sports was something that I want to do. I love it, and at certain points it didn't even feel like it was work. It just felt like it was fun. And I definitely want that in a career. I want to be able to go to work and enjoy my time. And I think that this internship taught me that I can do that in sports. The second thing I learned about myself was at the beginning of summer, the general manager didn't really give me tasks. He kind of just said, do what you want to do what you think needs to be done. And I really struggled to kind of figure out what needed to be done. So as the summer went on, I asked for more tasks, and I found myself able to do more work the more tasks I was doing. So I found about myself in a work environment, definitely I want a set of tasks or to be told to do something. That way I can get it done, and I find that I work a lot more effectively like that. I learned that recapping daily activities really helped me. When we did the hours log and the journal entries, just going back over what I had done and what I had learned, I was able to kind of mentally like, oh, I learned that. Like, oh, I can use this. And I definitely think that recapping the things we do in a workday or the things you learn just helps drive home those points of, wow, that really is something that is important. And then everything coming together is rewarding. It was super nice to see all the work we put in on the back end just come into fruition on game day. Just seeing everything run so smoothly on game day makes those hours you put in prep worth it. The second category I had was working in an office. One thing I learned is everyone has a common goal, because I didn't like my roommates. I didn't like their personalities. We didn't get along. But when it came to working in an office, we all had the same goals. We all wanted to do what was best for the team. We all wanted to get work done. And so I learned that you're not going to like people at work, but everyone has a common goal. Everyone wants to get things done, and that trumps everything. The next thing I learned was to use the resources you're given. Our general manager wasn't the best at communication, but if I went out of my way to ask for help or ask for resources or anything that I needed, they were more than happy to help. And so I just think that kind of drives home the point, is like, and it goes along with the third thing, is just ask for help if you need it. Even at work, like, you might think that you sound stupid asking, but I noticed that they really appreciated if I was trying to maximize the resources and maximize, if just by asking questions, being able to do the best work that I could do. And I noticed that they really appreciate that sort of stuff. And then the last thing was working in teams offers different perspectives from everyone. And I mean, you notice that everywhere, but like I said, I mean, my two roommates were from England, and I'm obviously from the United States. So being able to see, I was able to see things through a different lens than they are. And when we came in to work on things like promoting through social media, they brought in ideas from what they've learned, and I've brought in ideas. And it just, everybody working together is like, we were all able to kind of piece together what the final product would be. Whereas if it was just one of us, I don't think it would have been nearly as good as it was when we all kind of combined with the ideas we had. And then the last thing I learned was just about business. This really drove home the point of how crucial sponsorships are. Like I said, this is an amateur soccer side. It was their first year with interns, and this is kind of a side project for the managers. So most of their revenue came in from sponsorships because we didn't have a ton of people coming in at the gates. So a lot of our money came in the back end from sponsors. And it just drove home the point of like how crucial having that money and that sponsorship is. And I think that's in any business, having those sponsors and that working that relationship is such a key aspect of having a successful business. And then the second point is everything revolves around money. Every decision we made, every idea we came up with was, do we have the budget? Would our owners pay for this? I mean, every decision you make in business is based around money. And I know that sounds obvious, but when you see it firsthand from a general manager's perspective, it really just drives home that point of like every decision in business is money. And then the company image matters. That is because the Cincinnati Dutch Lions didn't have a great image, and that's part of the reason they want to rebrand. And in any business, I think if your company image is great, people who might never have tried your service are going to want to try it. But if you have a bad image, people are going to already have this negative perspective on you. And I definitely think that was something that I saw in this internship. And then the last thing was just hard work pays off. And this kind of ties back to the point of like everything coming together is rewarding, because all the stuff we did on the back end before the season even started and then during the games and everything, it's just like all that hard work we put in paid off when the owners are happy and your GM is happy and the players are happy and everyone's happy throughout the organization. It's just like all that work you put in, it just pays off at the end when everybody's just happy and everything runs so smoothly. And then the conclusions I had about this internship, the experience I think was a really good one for a first internship. Like I mentioned earlier, it definitely didn't feel like work some days because I was involved with a sport I love with really great people who all enjoyed the sport, all wanted to get things done. And I think when you have a first internship, that's such a good thing to have, that people like it wasn't stressful going to work every single day. It wasn't a pain, and I definitely, like I said, I think that's something that I want when it comes to a real job in the future. The second thing, I think the lessons I learned are things that I can use not only in a work environment but in real life, being able to see how, you might not agree with somebody on something, but everyone wants to get something done in an office, and I think that's so key when it comes to working. The lesson, like that lesson, I can apply to every job I have from here on out. And then the final thing is I'd actually not recommend this internship to other people, and I say that for two main reasons. One is at the moment, I don't necessarily think they were ready to handle interns. They toyed with the idea for a while, and then they brought in way too many interns. I think there were 8 of us, and quite frankly, there wasn't enough work to go around for everybody. I was lucky enough to be like the assistant to the general manager, so I had work and I was able to get things done. But a lot of the interns that were there on a day-to-day basis really didn't have a whole heck of a lot to do. So I think at the moment, the organization's not ready to handle interns unless you're in a very specific position. And then the other reason I wouldn't recommend it is because the pay is terrible. The pay was terrible. And pretty much to support yourself throughout the summer, you'd need to get another job. And unfortunately, with this internship on a day-to-day basis, you didn't have a very solid schedule. One day they might have told you, hey, we need you to come in at 8 o'clock. And then the next day, we don't even need you. And so it made it very difficult to plan like your summer, your schedule, or anything, because quite frankly, they just didn't have things 100% planned out. So that made it just really difficult on a day-to-day basis. Like if you wanted to have another job to make money, it would have been so difficult because you had no idea when you would need to work for the Dutch Lions. So setting up a schedule at a restaurant or something to make extra cash would have been incredibly difficult. And so definitely for that reason, if you're looking for an internship for experience and money, this definitely was not the internship for you. And yeah, that's everything about my internship this summer.